and welcome to another Biddle on Saturday night. How's everybody doing?
Evening all.
Good.
All right, before we go any further, can we get a confirmation from the chat about the sound so there's no echo? Because I'd hate to do the first part of this show with the echo.
It sounded okay to me. I muted us and then was listening to it on the show. It seemed fine. I'll let chat confirm it.
Yeah, we're good.
All good on the sound?
I kind of like this.
Nate. And Scott is here as well. Scott, you're late. What happened?
Single fartherness happened, but I am here.
Okay.
Made it, all right.
All right, we had a distro challenge this week, and I'm going to say it was an uneventful distro challenge because I installed it in a virtual box, and then I didn't do nothing with it. It was Neptune OS, and somebody helped me out. Somebody that liked it helped me out. Dan, you liked it, right?
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. I had some issues though with it. I did have some issues. I noticed that Latte was installed, but it didn't work quite right for me. It wasn't able to, normally it'll auto hide or whatever if you've got something full screen.
Mm-hmm.
It did that, but then I couldn't get it back. It wouldn't come back. So I don't know what the deal was with that. So I ended up having to just leave it so it was always on. So that was the only way I could get back to it.
I should know this, Dan, but what was the plasma version?
I think it's 5.12.7, I believe.
Oh, so it's not the latest one.
It is not the latest one.
Okay.
I think it's the
LTS version?
LTS version. Yeah, I think it's the latest LTS version. So that was a little weirdness, but it's plasma, so that's kind of great. No complaints with that, and it's based on Debian, so that's pretty great too. But obviously some of the packages are going to be a little older, and it had some different repos than what you would normally probably find, so that was a little strange too. One thing I didn't really care for visually was the weird square icons that it has. That's kind of strange to me, but other than that, it was fine.
So it wasn't Papyrus?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess it's nice that they brand it the way they want to, and it's at least consistent. I mean, they've got seem like icons for everything, so that was cool.
Well, it's a shame because they are doing their own thing, and that's great. Mm-hmm. It's a shame that we compare it to things like Neon and Ubuntu.
Yeah.
So
tough to compete there, probably.
Yeah. All right, Adam, did you get to try it at all?
I didn't. I've been really busy with family stuff all week. Thanksgiving preparations, my brother coming into town, all that good stuff.
You mean real life stuff?
Yeah, sort of. But I don't know. I didn't get a chance to look at it at all, so I have no idea.
All right, Dark One, Matt, are you there? All right, we'll skip Matt. Zeb.
Yeah, well, I tried it out. It was my first review that I was going to do in VirtualBox because, as I said last week, I'm not going to install any more distros onto the main machine. And, God, I hate VirtualBox. It's so sterile. You don't really get a feel for how the distro runs, etc. I mean, as Matt said, it's in. I think he might have, I don't know if he used the word sterile or contained, or it's all perfect. Yeah, nothing ever goes wrong, or at least it does for me when I try and install stuff in a VirtualBox. So yes, it looked very aesthetically pleasing. It wasn't until Dan reminded me that it contains some of the what was the name of that other distro we talked about?
Netrunner.
Yeah, Netrunner repos. And to be honest with you, I think I'd rather run Netrunner than Neptune. Mm-hmm. Everything that I tried worked, but I can't try NVIC, I can't try Steam, I can't try OBS because it's in a VirtualBox. So I think it's just going to be me reporting on, does it look nice and did it seem to flow? And everything there seemed to flow quite nicely. So positive for looks and general feel, but I can't really say because it wasn't on real metal.
All right. So that's well, we'll go back to Matt. Matt, you tried it, obviously, right? I mean,
I looked at it. That was about the no, I have not. Unfortunately, working retail, Rocco, you should know this. Holidays and life kind of get in the way.
I know. I get it. All right, Paul, did you try it?
I did try it on that machine I made, and it ran pretty good. It was KDE. I mean, I read in there was only 3 guys who were doing it. I don't know if anybody read that, but yeah, that'd scare me off because there's only 3 developers.
Yeah. So it's not something you would run?
No, probably not. Not when there's Kubuntu out there.
Yeah, that's why I say it's a shame because it's going to be matched up against that, and it's a hard.
It would take
mountain to climb.
Switch from that, yeah.
All right, Nate. Hello, Nate.
Yes.
Did you get to try Neptune?
I did. I wrote up. I did a little write up on that one too, some blathering. And so just real quick.
You got a link?
I do. I sent it to your Telegram, your personal one. So that works for you. So so what I liked. Now, mind you, I'm comparing it from my perspective as an OpenSUSE user, so I know that I'm going to be biased. You know, I can't help it. So what I liked is, what I noted at first was the system requirements, and I wanted to test it as such because, you know, is it true or is it just fluff? And I couldn't scale the CPU because I don't really know how, but I did run it at those specifications, and it ran quite well in VirtualBox, of course. And the thing I wasn't really sure on was why was live CD the only install option or the only way to try it out? I thought that was kind of, you know, odd. If I were to install this like on a bunch of machines, I think it would be annoying to have to do a live CD to install all the subsequent machines.
Right.
I didn't particularly care for the default partitioning scheme. It didn't have home separate. I mean, of course, you can change to whatever you want. I did like the keyboard layout selector. This is the first time I've ever seen keyboard, like we can actually look at what the keyboard layout is going to be. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also at the act of the installation itself, it was kind of a running advertisement as opposed to saying, you know, what's going on. I like the geeky output that says, you know, installing this or whatever. That I just enjoy that. So didn't have that. The feature I really liked was the default menu preference, although not what I would prefer, but I did like it. It looked really nice. It had a listing of the common applications, your favorite applications, I suppose. So it was very friendly for a newish user. And by default, Plasma Vault was installed. And I've never played with it before, so I took some time and played with Plasma Vault. It was kind of fun. So fun, in fact, that I installed it on my OpenSUSE Tumbleweed so I could continue playing with it on Metal. So overall, I thought it was pretty great. I didn't have any real complaints other than I couldn't install Discord or Telegram by default, like with the repositories. There's a way to do it, of course. It's, you know, Debian. So.
Well, you said you installed Plasma Vaults on your Tumbleweed. That's KDE, right?
Yes.
Doesn't the Plasma Vaults come by default?
Yeah, it came out.
It didn't. It didn't on my Tumbleweed install. So okay. I don't know why, but.
All right.
Now I'm playing with it. It's kind of fun.
Awesome.
I like it. So overall, yeah, I would say it's not too bad. If OpenSUSE went away for whatever horrific reason, I could use this.
Okay. Woohoo! Got one vote.
I'm going to be kind of positive about all of them because I don't like to focus on the negative. I don't know, something wrong with me.
No, it's definitely not. Like I said, it's a shame because of who they got to go up against. Because I don't think they're going to be able to compare to a Kubuntu or even a Tumbleweed, really. But it's definitely still a lot of hard work that goes into it.
Yeah, there is.
And it looks nice. It's a little different, but I think it looks nice. So.
Yep. All right, Wendy, did you get to try it at all?
No, I had real life happen. I was pretty busy all week. I did look at it and look at the screenshots, and when I saw that it was based on Debian, I really wasn't that interested in it because I know what I want to install, and it would be hard to get that stuff installed, and so it's, as Zeb would say, next.
Right. Right. All right, Joe, did you get to try it at all?
It's still on there if you could see it.
Yeah. So what'd you think?
At first, like every distro, I always throw it on a VM just to see how it's going to act there first. And it installed fine on there. I thought it ran, and for whatever reason, seemed to run a bit sluggish on there. But interestingly enough, when I went to put it on here, it took me 3 attempts. And the second one, I did something I really shouldn't have. I had with 2 separate disks in here, and I really don't use the other disk, and I should have just disabled it. But I wanted to see, much like GNOME, because everybody says GNOME, you put, or Pop! OS, you put Pop! OS on, and you do EFI, it'll trash your bootloader. Well, I did EFI on this, and it did exactly that. It trashed the bootloader. So it's not just Pop! OS, which didn't bother me, but I did reload Windows, and it took a day and a half to do that by the time I did all its updates, because I had a 1603 version. But anyway, so I went back to Legacy. But the distro itself isn't bad. I've always liked Kubuntu, and I like KDE, and I like the Plasma desktop, but I always thought, I think the perception of saying it was heavy before always seemed like, because I'm used to when you open, like on PEP or even on Mate, you open a menu and it's there. You click and it opens. You click and this kind of almost fluid, fancy, slow. It reminds me of feelings a little on the, I don't want to use the word sluggish, but slow or heavy side, even though I know it's not. I do think it's out of the box a little plain. But then again, that's something that we can control. It's not a big deal. You can change, look what you want. I do agree about the icons being a little square and stuff like that. But, I didn't play with it as much as I would have liked to. But the one thing that I like about this laptop is every one that I could test, it's a touch screen. So, I wanted to see how that would work. And I noticed, like, with clicking on the icons on the desktop itself, they don't want to respond. But yet if I click on the menu and everything else and going through the menu, it'll work fine. So I'm not sure what that's all about either. I don't think it's a bad distro. Is it something that I would ever use as a daily driver? Probably not. Like was said on here, I would probably lean toward Kubuntu if I was going to use something like this before using Neptune itself. I think that it's got a lot of potential, but it's not a downer. It's a nice distro. It's not for me. I don't know. Like I said, I would like to play with it a little bit more. I'll leave it on a little bit longer just to see. But and I did, by the way, disable the other drive, so this way I don't have any problems.
Right.
But I was very surprised though, because even with, we've heard discussion with EFI, you still show separate no matter what distro. But you would think that if you got 2 separate disks, it really shouldn't affect it, correct? Is what I thought, but somewhere along the line it still does. It finds it even if it's not active. And
well, if you put it on, if you put the root partition on a separate drive than others, you also have to put the boot partition, the EFI or whatever it's going to use on a separate partition as well, or it will find it.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably what I did wrong, because this came with Windows 10 on the 1 terabyte drive that's in there, and I just basically uncheck it in the BIOS not to activate it, but I didn't disable the SATA part of it. There's actually an area you have to go in to basically take this, disable the SATA so it acts like it's not even there, and that's probably what I did wrong, because it still found it regardless. Because I've got this as a separate SSD from that mechanical drive that's in there, so.
Well, Pop! OS will like pretty much take over and remove everything else and use its own for the EFI. But if you tell it where to put it, it won't. Because on my last install, I put it on a separate drive and told it that's where I wanted the bootloader to be, and I still had the other bootloader if I booted off that drive. So,
But even installing this, I thought I did the same thing. I tried to make sure I tell it where to go, and it's still somewhere along the line. It still trashed the other drive.
wow.
Because it said it said no boot drive found. So, yeah, which surprised me. I mean, I honestly didn't think it was going to go that far with it, but I did it out of curiosity because I was just wondering. So I guess I got my answer.
Yep. Scott.
Hey, Linux has got to hurt.
That's right. That's what Dave would say if he was here.
Yeah.
Scott, did you try Neptune?
Well, only on a limited basis. As you guys saw earlier last week or at the last session, had errors trying to get it to launch or to install. I was only able to evaluate the live version. I still can't get it to install on a virtual machine where I've got 8 others that work just fine, identical settings. It could just be a hardware compatibility issue. So I just kind of reviewed the live session. So that's not a really good way to evaluate something. And it seemed to work okay as a live session, but that's not, like I say, that's not a true test of it anyway. So looks good. I mean, aesthetically, intuitively, easy to find everything. That's about really it. I mean, if it's somebody that's wants to find stuff quickly and easily through a GUI, I think it's laid out nicely.
Scott,
So,
I want to tell you, I had the same thing with those. Remember, I said multiple issues. It was giving me errors, and honestly, I don't remember exactly how I fixed it, but it's just a simple settings issue.
Yeah, that's what I do. Go through the settings and I take a look at everything. And like I said, I've got 8 others to match them against. And generally speaking, I look at it from the standpoint of somebody trying something for the first time, using as many of the default settings as absolutely possible to see how well it moves into a machine, whether it's virtual or actual hard machine. Yeah, I could probably get it to start working. It would take probably some serious tweaking of settings to get to that point. So in that sense, if it does get working, yeah, it's not too bad. I still kind of favor Linux Mint pretty much. So as far as a comparison to that, yeah, it's pretty close to that. Different, KDE and Debian based. I think the Debian runs better than the other distros, actually. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I like how quickly it goes. That's about all I can tell you.
All right. Barb.
I didn't try it. I didn't even get a chance to download it. But after reading some of the people's comments on Telegram, I thought, no. And I'm not a KDE fan. I'm really not. I'm a Mate fan, and I realize that. So I probably would not have been too happy with it anyway.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Not too many Mate fans or KDE users too.
Yeah. So, and that was the other thing I said, KDE, no.
All right, Mr. Carl Schneider in the house.
How's everybody this evening?
Awesome. What's going on, man?
Not much. I didn't do the challenge because I cut out early last week and I never watched the rest of the show to learn what the challenge was. But I did run Deepin desktop. Actually, I ran Deepin for a little while, and then I don't know. I started really liking the desktop environment again. I liked all the improvements, so I put this week I've been running Arco Linux with the Deepin desktop environment.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
It's been good.
I installed Deepin this week, and I can't remember. I removed it, but I can't remember why. There was a reason why I removed it.
A Christian, Carl, do you run double monitors?
No, I do not.
Oh, right, okay. Because I was trying Antec Designs Deepin again, and their inbuilt monitor changer, I couldn't get the default panel onto the monitor that I wanted because I've got 3 here, and every single time I opened up their display settings to change it, it then created some weird virtual panning problem with the monitors, so that my left-hand monitor was like this large, but the monitor was only there, so I had to pan. And when I changed it back in NVIDIA to be the same size as the actual monitor, the bottom panel went over to the wrong thing again. So I had to get rid of it. It was just doing me nothing. I couldn't work out how to open this thing up without it creating this virtual panning for all 3 monitors. And it was really bizarre. So
I think it's because in China, they can't afford more than 1 monitor.
Could be, but aesthetically, it is beautiful. And Antec's version is really, really quick if you've not tried it. I don't know what he's done to Arch, but it's rapid.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I was having, Zeb, and I'm going to throw this at you too. I know it's a little bit off subject, but my PEP machine in there, I wanted to put a second monitor, and I did. And I kept having an issue that every time I'd open something and I'd go to change, and you know how you get the other pop-up window, it'd always go on that monitor. So then I put in the Confiz manager and clicked on, you know, there's, I can't remember exactly what it says. It's like locking the windows in their last whatever. Nothing would work. It'd drive me nuts. Every time I was working on something, I'm going, why isn't this working? And then I look over here and I'd see that the pop-up window's over.
Welcome to XFCE. It just doesn't do it right, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, I took the other monitor off for that reason, because it just, and other than that, I mean, that machine screams. I love it. So.
Which is really weird, because I don't remember having the same problem with MX17, but that is XFCE. So I don't know how they've cured it, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like here, you'll open up Zoom, and then over on this monitor will be the invitation to join it. So I'm sitting there for the first 5 minutes chatting away to Rocco, and he can't hear a thing because I haven't hit the join audio.
Yeah, it popped up on the wrong monitor.
Yep.
Yeah, and that Confiz, manager settings, that thing, it's nice and it does let you tweak stuff, but the feature that's supposed to lock into the window, and there are 2 or 3 different choices, and you put where the last one theoretically where your cursor would be, it should lock into that window. It doesn't. So I don't know if there's a bug that could be filed for that, or something they could look at, because if they could get that ironed out, then that thing's flawless. And I still have Mate here, so those are my 2 favorites.
What's everybody's favorite desktop environment for multi-monitor support?
Plasma.
Yeah, Plasma does a good job.
Plasma.
And it remembers where your monitors are when you disconnect. If you have like a dock station.
I had no problems with my Ubuntu Mate. I had that was,
Cinnamon's pretty good too.
Yeah, I don't have problems with Ubuntu Mate. I only have my laptop plus 1 external monitor, so I'm not like some of you guys have a wall of monitors.
I used to have 3. Now I've got the widescreen. But the nice thing that I liked about Mate is you could change the wallpapers. Like if you have one that, let's say, has a logo in the middle, and you don't want the logo on every screen, you could change the monitors to whichever one you wanted. You could change it to different ones. It's very flexible.
Plasma does that too.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Michael.
Yeah, Michael Klein over there. No, actually, Plasma does a really good job at it.
Yeah, it does.
But as Zeb said, Cinnamon does a really good job on it too. So
I've never had a problem with Cinnamon or Mate, and I'm going to say Mate because I'm down in Australia.
Right? Well, Dave could not be here, Dreaming Wolf, this week due to family things going on. So he did want me to pass along his experience with Neptune. So it took him 3 tries to get it to install. It kept seeing the LVM partition of the disk from a previous Fedora install as a separate drive. So he couldn't erase the entire disk. He finally did get it installed. After the install and getting the NVIDIA drivers, everything went smooth. But as soon as I sim linked in my home folders, the system locked up while trying to boot. So, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. He didn't say it went smooth. He said that went smooth until he did that. And then after sim linking everything, things went downhill. He didn't even get to a login screen and couldn't control Alt F4 to drop to a terminal. So I pulled a Zeb and said, next.
Yeah, that'll do it for you.
So he didn't have a good experience.
Here's the guy that asked right there about the XFCE, how it works so well. Mr. Dolphin.
Dolphin in-house.
What, XFCE works? Who knew?
We were talking about the monitor, like
Now, the dual monitor problem that we generically have but don't have on MX17, you'll open up an application on window 1 and the pop-up will open up on monitor 2. And I can never seem to get them to stay on the same monitor.
I'm going to call that dumb luck.
Yeah, my son uses MX17 on his machine, and he has dual monitors, and he has no issues with it.
It's our XFCE settings for the display is by default is still the older version. I don't think we've moved the newer stuff over yet. Actually, I'm gonna back up. We moved over the GTK2 port with the same fixes that they did on the GTK3. Maybe that just works a little better. I have no idea.
That would make sense.
How's my volume?
Yes, good.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good.
Would you stop?
I
Cat
can't stop
problems.
the music bar.
Yeah.
They were voting in chat to have a webcam, a cat cam.
Hey,
A cat cam? Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
should do that.
can
I'm
everybody hear
tempted.
me?
I want to know what they do during the day. I really do. Besides sleep.
All right, so somebody has the live stream on, I believe, in the background.
Not me.
All right, so this week, one of the reasons why I did not get to try Neptune out a whole lot was because I did my first Arch install.
Oh.
And I remember people saying, I think it was Derek last week, said it would take about an hour. Well, it took about 5 hours, actually. And I glued my hair back in now for this stream because I pulled it all out while I was doing it.
It looks great.
Because, yeah, you won't
Not
see
a
it
wig?
afterwards. No, it's just glued pieces back in. So, Derek also said, DistroTube last week said that he knew people that came over from Windows and installed it. And hold on, got to fix some of the audio here.
He just said you must have taken frequent breaks too.
Yeah.
Derek's in the chat.
Yeah. No, he said that a couple Windows users came over, people from Windows, and installed Arch. And I got to say, I got to qualify that with it had to be people, like there are Windows users and there are Windows users. You know what I mean? There is regular, normal, everyday Windows users that are not ever going to be able to touch Arch. And then there are Windows users that modify the registry every day and, get into command line and do all this stuff. That's possible, but that's very far and few in between people that are actually going to do that and come to Linux. So after doing it once, I finally got my KDE Plasma Arch installed, and it was good, actually. It was actually pretty good. But I ended up doing a few things wrong. Like I didn't have any audio when I started out because, all Pulse Audio.
Yeah.
Who knew? And well, then I ended up I added 2 sound widgets, like the sound applets. I just added them. I didn't I installed them. I didn't add them to the panel. And I ended up with 3 sound outputs. Kwin, K-Mixer, I think, and Pulse Audio, regular one. The regular KD one. And that was weird. So I did a few things wrong, and I didn't make all the notes, so I ended up installing again, but I installed XFCE this time, and that went a little bit smoother. And I did do the notes, but I didn't do them complete. So I did another install, and that's what I'm on right now, which is the 3rd Arch, and that's Cinnamon, and it's running pretty good. So I was happy with that.
Did you install System D?
Did I install System D? No, I did not.
Yeah. Why?
Not by me doing it. If it came with the base or something like that, it may have gotten installed, but I didn't.
Yeah, I wonder because I know there's such a dislike for System D, but I think it's pretty great, and because it makes everything start up really fast, and you don't have to wait, a minute and a half for everything to start up with the old system init 5 or whatever. So I was just curious if it was possible in Arch 2, what the options were with Arch and what you did.
According to DistroTube, System D is installed by default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should look that up first before opening my mouth.
Hey, Rocco, you ever try the Arch fast install?
No, and I could have tried a few. Like, there's a couple out there. Like, Arco has one, and Manjaro has one.
Matt Mule made a script, and you just have to use his script to install Arch.
But I really didn't want to do it that way. I really wanted to install it and get it installed.
Do it once.
And I actually like doing it. And I will say, you know, I followed Derek's video on installing Arch, and he made it look really easy. It's not that easy.
That's who I watched.
When you do it yourself, just saying. It's not that easy. But I was able to get through it with his help because some of the things that he was talking about wasn't plain on the Arch Wiki. It might have been there somewhere, but it wasn't plain. This is what you do next. Like, okay, so for example, for somebody that doesn't know Arch or how to do things right, you know, exactly the right way, it would say, you know, edit this file. The wiki said you have to do this, edit this file, whatever. But it didn't say, like, okay, it didn't say, you know, this, you know, you open it with Nano and all this stuff. So you have to figure some of that stuff out. But I think that I'm probably going to stay on Arch for a while because it seems to be running good.
You know, you don't have to use Nano. You could have used Vim.
I tried to use Vim one time, and
that's usually how it goes with Vim. You
bad.
try it one time.
It was bad.
And then you're there. You're hooked. You're hooked on it.
Some people
I've been using Vim since 2003, and I keep trying to make myself use Nano because I think it looks easier to use, but I keep preferring Vim. I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with me.
There is something wrong with you.
Probably.
The main reason you only use Vim once is you can never get out of the flipping thing.
I'm telling you.
That's the meme.
No, wait. I started backspacing, and it started deleting the line. Like, it was really weird. Like, I had to exit out and try to exit out without saving the changes.
Yeah, Q-bang.
Well, hey, Terry, that's going a little too far, don't you think? But I do got a question for you guys.
Hang on, Rocco. I just want to ask you real quick.
Yeah.
With all this effort installing Arch, what is the positives that you're looking to get out of it that puts it above all other distributions?
Well, I don't think going in I had a positive to say this is what I want to accomplish. I just wanted to accomplish it. You know, basically get the install running. All I hear is about how stable Arch is, even though everybody says, you know, a lot of other people will say it's not. And I'm wondering, and I kept asking people questions like, why do people say it's stable, and yet, you know, you hear like Manjaro and all these things break all the time. And all I kept hearing was that the derivatives that do Arch make so many config changes that's what ends up breaking things a lot. So I wanted to get that full Arch install and basically see if it's going to break. I want to see how stable it is. So far, it's been stable, but we'll have to wait and see.
Awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your question for
no.
whoever that was.
The one thing I do want to say is, though, that again, I'll go back to Derek. He said it's easy and it'll take a couple minutes. He's also talking about the actual install of Arch. That doesn't account for once you get to the desktop and installing a desktop environment, all your programs and making sure everything. That takes, you know, twice as long. It probably takes longer to do that than it does to actually do the Arch install.
It's stable till it's
Can
not.
everybody
That's
hear
the
me?
thing. It's the beauty of a rolling release, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
but wait, if you're saying it takes an hour just to get the operating system on, that's like 55 minutes of your life you're not going to get back unless you use some other distro. It doesn't take that long to get Ubuntu up and running. I mean, forget adding all the other stuff because that takes and tweaking it, whatever. But I can, however long it takes, like, what is it, 5 minutes or something at the most?
Yeah, 15 minutes, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. It depends on you know, the system, et cetera, et cetera. But why does it take an hour just to get the operating system on?
Well, it doesn't take other people an hour. It took me an hour.
I would have given up after half an hour and said,
Yeah, but
"Nah."
Barb, that's the learning curve to it, I think, too, because Arch is an animal of its own. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
And part of it is the challenge and the fun. I think that's what makes Linux enthusiasts what they are, is trying new things and going through the pains of it and deciding, do I want to really do this or not, or am I just a glutton? I don't know. I just, to me, it's the adventure of trying something out. And in fairness, Rocco, Derek could probably do it in his sleep because he's he's always, he does enough of them. And if you did enough of them, I'm sure, things, it's like anything else, it gets easier the more you do it, So
yeah, well, you pick up. There's only certain things that you have trouble with. Like I forget exactly which things I had trouble doing, but
and
there's
that's
only
based on
certain
your hardware, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And once you figure those one or two things out, the other stuff is simple. You know what I mean? Like it's just entering command lines and editing config files. So that part is simple. It's the one or two issues that you might run into that you have trouble, and then. Like, okay, for example, I got a question for you guys. On this install of Cinnamon, I shouldn't have, but I did. I installed PayMac because I thought that I needed a GUI because I wanted a GUI I just installed PayMac. I built it from the AUR, and now Pac-Man doesn't recognize that it's on the system, and Yay doesn't recognize it's on the system. So I can't remove it that way. So my question is, how do I remove PayMac without the removers, the uninstallers, recognizing that it's even there on the?
Did you do a make and then an install? So you did the shell.
I downloaded the package from the AUR and then I extracted it and did a make package -si.
That's it. Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes those things have, I don't know about the Arch world, but sometimes those when you install from a source package like that, there'll actually be a make uninstall that'll take it back off.
Yeah, you got to find out where it
not always
put that together though, probably, and get in there and then do a make uninstall. If that's an option, like Dolphin said.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where.
A long time ago when I tried doing an Arch install was unfortunately forgetting something, or not getting something to work like you thought it would. Let's say example of a wireless driver or something like that, and you can't figure out why you can't get something downloaded, and then you realize, oh, doop, I forgot to put,
That's one of the things that frustrated me about Arch as well. What frustrated me about Arch was about using the AUR. Like you're at the mercy of everyone else's package builds, and like you don't really, unless you read through the entire thing, like you really don't know where it's installing things and what it's doing with it.
Plus, if you're not familiar with it all, it's kind of Greek. Yeah. A lot of it is anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not straightforward.
So I went and Googled this, and it wasn't specifically to PayMac, but it was to, how do you remove packages that Pac-Man doesn't recognize that are on the system? And lo and behold, I get the Arch forums, and a guy asked a similar question to exactly what I was going to ask, and the answer was maybe you should learn more about Make Package before you go installing packages through Make Package next time.
Of course, right?
Wow. Friendly neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe you should learn how a car works before you start driving.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah, funny thing about that.
You couldn't possibly be right in the middle of learning when you asked the question.
Yeah, it wasn't a very nice conversation. But anyway, if anybody has any suggestions.
I have one more suggestion if there's not a make uninstall. If you have this package you installed from, probably in that thing somewhere in the archive is a list of all the files that had actually spread out all over your system. You could just go delete them all.
I could.
It's not magic. You can just go pick out the number of the files there are, pick them up, hit delete, and be done with it. If it's not recognized by the package management system, it's outside the package management system, so who cares how you do it. All the make uninstall is going to do is undo if there's a config file change someplace, it might undo that, and then it's just going to delete all the files. That's all it's going to do.
I'm just going to give one caveat to that, Big Daddy. Remember Solus.
Yeah, I remember Solus. Editor's root.
he tried just that and then ended up trashing the whole system.
Yeah.
I think he picked the wrong files.
I did not pick the wrong files. I only deleted what I meant to delete. It just for whatever reason it messed everything up. I don't know why. But if we don't know, like, where where does Arch store the things that start up, like in the system tray? Like Paymax starts up checking for updates. So it's not in I'm on Cinnamon, so it's not in a startup application. It's not in the config.config folder in the home folder. So is there some place in the system that it knows where to start?
Could be in /HE/XDG/auto start.
Could be.
That's where we cram our updater.
What did you say? Etsy what?
Etsy.
Etsy/XDG.
Auto start.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. That's where it is.
Of
course, I need to edit as root to delete that.
Yeah, you do.
I don't want to do that on a live stream.
Don't do the live stream.
Good. At least I can turn it off anyway, even if I can't get it uninstalled.
So we look forward to you next week being on Kubuntu then.
Right. Stop it. But yeah, that was my week, and that's why I didn't get to Neptune. So.
That's cool, though.
And for Surge, no, not Gen 2 yet, okay? No.
Rocco, you want a working system, right?
Oh, my gosh. No. Anyway, all right, what's next on the agenda? We do have to
the
pick
challenge for next week, I suppose.
Yeah, we do have a pick a distro. So what are our options?
Deepin was discussed last time.
It was. Deepin is an option. Carl just mentioned it again this week, so that makes it a double option.
Yeah. He's got a jump start on it. That's cool.
Have we been to visit... sorry, go ahead.
No, go on, Rocket.
I was just going to suggest an alternative Deepin also. Have we been to visit Black Lab yet?
No, I don't believe so.
Black Lab, I had one of those when I was young, yeah.
Does Black Lab Linux now do a Deepin version then?
I don't believe it does a Deepin version. It's pretty standalone. It's Ubuntu based.
Zeb, is that Anintech ready yet? Or is he still having issues?
Well, no, I mean, it's up and running and working. And if you like Deepin, it's an alternative. Let me get you the link for it, and then we can chuck it in the mix if people want to try it.
Yeah, because we did say that we were going to try that at some. One vote in the chat from Aris for Bodhi Linux.
I recall trying
Deepin that
Deepin.
recently. Wasn't there somebody running that recently?
Yeah, somebody runs.
Somebody
Bodhi.
run. I don't remember.
Steve,
It's
isn't that Steve?
Yeah, Steve
runs
does.
Bodhi. Yeah, yeah, he would definitely be yes for that.
Says it's got XFCE desktop environment.
No, it's in Moshka, the Fork of Enlightenment. Moshka.
I'm still going to pull for Deepin. I still want to give that a run. I mentioned that last couple of weeks.
So when I last tried Deepin, the repos were just god awfully slow.
They fixed it.
Did they? Okay.
I'm telling you, I tried Deepin. I installed Deepin alongside of my XFCE version on Arch, and I installed it and I booted into it. I can't remember why I said no way.
It didn't like sharing the space with Arch. That's why.
No, I mean it ran fine. It was just there was a reason. I can't remember what it was. I wrote it down.
Security related?
No, it wasn't securely related. It was more of a you can't do this type of thing. And I can't remember.
See, you have to install it again and find out what it was. That's all.
Well, what is it? 15.8 now? That's out?
Yeah, 15.
Yeah.
Well, that's up to you guys. I'm okay with trying it.
I'm already running in it, so.
No, cheating.
And what do you think?
I like they took a few pages from actually Rocco Chaos. Remember how in Chaos they do the when you first boot up that captain
Yes.
so layout selector.
The welcome setup.
Yes, thank you. They kind of do something like that now. So you can choose like your icons. You can choose the dock, how that's set up. There's a few different things that they did that's different. Like if you choose, I think it's fashion mode, you have the typical Deepin layout and all that stuff. But if you do efficiency, the way the side panel works for the control settings is different than in the other mode. So it's got a lot of different stuff. Transparency controls and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So there's a lot of cool stuff in it. And they actually did fix the repo issue of being slow.
Fashion mode robot is where the dock shrinks to like a plank size.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's up to you. We have Bodhi on the table and we have Deepin. Votes.
I say Deepin, and you can choose your flavor, whichever distro runs it.
No, you're talking just the desktop.
Unless you want to go deep in native China.
a lot of
wagging their heads here. Look.
No.
Anybody else?
I'm going to try it.
I was going to say I'm fine
I'd
trying
like to try Deepin.
All right.
I'll give it a whirl.
I guess that will be the new challenge this week. Deepin.
So Deepin on a specific distro or Deepin
just whatever
distro you want to choose.
Or
then if you choose different ones, that'll give us more to talk about, and how that specific one did it better or worse than the others.
But if you want a blisteringly fast Arch version, I've put Antec Designs in the main chat.
Yeah, I actually might try.
It's not a GUI installer.
Did you put it in YouTube?
Yeah, in the main YouTube chat, yeah. It might have scrolled up a bit now.
Yeah, I missed it.
Hang
I
on.
got it then.
There you go, done it again.
I think my YouTube chat might have froze.
Ooh.
Oh, there it is.
Messing up
Just
a
a
lot.
little slow. Yeah. Last week, apologies for the video not being up, but I was on Pop! OS, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. It didn't have NVENC support, so I didn't have the hardware boost in the stream itself, although that should have nothing to do with the processing of the video. But anyway, we got done the live stream, and it took YouTube 2 days to get the video processed.
Wow.
And yeah, it was...
That's a lot of process.
There were people that could see it. Like certain people I know, I had a few comments saying I could only see, where was the beginning of the show? And so it was in the middle of processing, and some people were able to view it, some people were not. And yeah, 2 days later, it was up there for everybody to see. That was a little messed up, but hopefully that doesn't happen again this week. All right, Zeb, I'm running Cinnamon right now. You enjoy Cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you place it against something else? I mean, I don't mean... I would probably ask, where do you place it in regards to other GTK-based desktop environments?
Well, for me, I've got a very biased view because I've got a couple of 4K monitors here, and Cinnamon and KDE appear to be the only two that really work well with 4K monitors, and their scaling that they do, whilst it might not be, I think, 100% of the UI, it certainly gives it a damn good go. And it's strange because I like Antigos Cinnamon, but I don't like Linux Mint. But it's the same Cinnamon desktop, so I don't know if they make some configuration changes, and that's why I'm looking forward to this Deepin challenge, because Deepin is a desktop, but so many different people can make so many different tweaks. It's like MX is an XFCE desktop, but it isn't. It's so different, and it just flows, and it just works. And for me, that's why I like Antagos cinnamon. For me, it just works, and it works nice, and it looks nice, and I like where they've placed everything and how it all hangs together. So it really is just a personal preference. There's no one thing that sets it above anything else.
Oh yeah.
Well, I loved mate when I ran it. I love cinnamon before I ran it because cinnamon is kind of like in the middle of KDE and XFCE as far as customizability. It has more to me than XFCE, like in the settings part. Maybe you can do a lot of things with XFCE and the config files and stuff like that, but in the GUI settings, Cinnamon has a ton of different relevant settings that you would actually use on a daily basis. And I had run it before, but I got away from it and went to KDE and GNOME and everything else. And now running it again, it seems to be running really good. And the additions that they've made with the applets and everything else, I think it's awesome. Anybody else have any thoughts on Cinnamon? Maybe we should try Cinnamon this week.
I thought cinnamon was pretty cool. I mean, I've tried it a while ago.
I think I tried cinnamon once, long ago. On
Did you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah,
yes.
we
can hear you. Yeah. So how long ago was it, Swift, that you used it?
Cinnamon.
Oh goodness, it's been a few years now.
Oh well, it's changed quite a lot. Definitely try it again.
Oh wow, yeah. I plan on using Manjaro cinnamon version at some point on my T420. Thinking of doing that.
Yeah,
what's the latest cinnamon version?
It's just gone up to 4 something.
Yeah, 4.0, I think, ain't?
Mm-hmm.
4 point. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we're up to 3.8. Okay.
Yeah, which is really strange because Mint still runs 3.
Yeah.
3.8 or something or other. They haven't.
Yeah,
but then they do run off the LTS. So.
Well, they're going to be coming out with 4 in December, right? Like
oh wow,
next month. Right before Christmas, I think they said the next Mint will land, and I'm pretty sure the 4.0 Cinnamon is going to be in it.
Nice.
So, Dolphin, you should definitely check it out because I think they do a lot of things right, and it may give you some tips.
Oh
well, always need those.
Yeah.
Is cinnamon cute?
Well, that was a double-edged sword there.
Well, that wasn't a shot. That was just a, you always have to keep an eye on your competition. You always keep an eye on your competition so you know what you're doing right and what you're doing
like
wrong.
those Mint guys. You know what we love over in the MX forum is when all the Mint guys come into the MX forum and tell us all the things, all the apps Mint has that we need to port over to MX.
Right.
And it drives one of our guys just nuts because he's like, just use Mint if you want to use all the Mint stuff. Just go get Mint. But you know what? We've adopted a couple of their things. We brought them into our repos and a couple of their maintainers for I forget one of the USB tools. Super guy, and we've been contributing some stuff back to him. So that's been nice.
That's cool.
At least I think we have. We've done some internal patches. I hope they've made it back to him. So.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do a lot of things right. Anybody else have any thoughts on Cinnamon?
I haven't tried it on
What
a
is
4K
unique about
monitor, but
Cinnamon?
I'll take your word that it works well.
What is unique about it? I don't think there's anything unique about it. It's customizable like KDE, but it doesn't overwhelm you. Like, for example, you can switch out menus.
Okay.
And the regular menu is something that I don't want to run on a regular basis. Their default menu, I don't care for it. So, but there's like 4 different menu applets to choose from that you can put in. And like I said, they've fixed some of the applets. Or actually they fixed the applet system so that they don't crash your system, or the ones that do crash your system are not available anymore. So the ones that are there work well. And like I said, I picked a different menu. It's almost like a elementary style menu, maybe a slingshot type menu. But you remember that? And I added an extension to the desktop to allow transparency for the panel. and put my clock in the center, which KDE can't even seem to do right. And I'm good to go, you know.
Not without latte, yeah.
Right.
Well, now,
You
how
can't
do
do it
you
without
guys
latte.
compare cinnamon to mate or mate rather?
Well, I mean, they're definitely
It's probably similar, yeah.
similar, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Be honest with you, I don't think you're going to find a lot of people that like mate are going to want to run cinnamon, because they're going to think, you know, there's no point in running cinnamon if they have the options available to them like mate. Now, obviously, this doesn't have like a software boutique or anything like that.
Right.
But it's definitely something that I think that more people would use if they actually try.
Oh, okay.
Weren't there a couple of years ago? They were like, it was the up and coming, desktop environment for a lot of people to try and stuff, if I remember correctly.
They were, but you know what, Barb? I think that they get a lot of bad, not publicity, but, and I don't want to say it bad.
Like bad raps for
being associated with Linux Mint. And because Linux Mint is nice, but it's the beginner's distro. It's the training wheels distro. You know what I mean? Like
I always
beginners
hate
use it and then they move on. And I think that's wrong. I think it's totally wrong. But,
no, I mean, there's nothing wrong. I always hate that when they they do the same thing with Ubuntu. For a long time, everyone would say, "Oh, well, that's if you want to try Linux, try Ubuntu, try Linux Mint." Not necessarily. You can do everything you can do in anything else in any other version. It's just more stable. Does it crash as often? You know,
well,
I don't know.
Well, Scott, you're a Linux Mint fan, so tell me, do you feel that way? Do you feel it gets a
I think it gets
a bad rap?
Yeah, I think it, generally speaking, it does get a bad rap. I think maybe partly due to the fact that people try it and they don't try it long enough. I mean, they just get a little feel for it, and maybe it just doesn't do something that they expect it to do, and then they're turned off and moving on to something else. Mint, you really can't appreciate it unless you start to use it in enough situations where other people may run into problems on other distros. Mint just kind of just breezes right through. I've been using it for probably 3 or 4 years, starting with what was it, 16, I think. I'm on 18.3, and I've had hardware issues with lots of distros, and Mint just works well with my hardware, so I really can't complain about it.
Well, you know, speaking of cinnamon, it gives you little things like, for example, you can change the themes in Latte, and you can change the themes in Cinnamon, and they're similar to where, you know, you got the controls section and you got the desktop section and everything, but you could also download themes kind of like you can with KDE, where you can add themes right from the settings menu. You don't have to go find a specific theme. So those little things are the differences between, you know, Mate and Cinnamon that people might enjoy, but if you don't go use it, if you don't use it and you don't go searching through it, you're never going to find it.
Right.
I used to use Mint a long time ago, quite a bit actually, and I had over 50-something computers here back just before. This will give you a time date one. That's back when XP was coming to end of life, and I was selling a lot of computers, and Mint was the best distro for me at the time to put on there, and Cinnamon especially because it was most Windows-esque like. And I do like it, but there's things about Mate that I think you could do even better than even Mint as far as for customizability or workflow or things. Not that I'm saying anything against Mint. I'm just saying for my taste. I just think there's just that little bit extra you could do with it.
Yeah.
Like you said, even the software boutique and some other things that are offered in here. Plus, I think Mate is a little bit more current. And
well,
we discussed about that.
You mentioned the software boutique, and I had mentioned it. And I think the software boutique is a great thing to have in your system. The only thing I would say about it, for me, as far as the downside would be, is once you use it once, it's pretty much, I mean, it's pretty much basically for the first initial setup.
Yep.
And then it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and the software boutique's not really Mate, right? That's Ubuntu Mate.
Right. Right.
I mean,
exactly.
it's
Right.
not blur the line here. This is the kind of the same deal that they went through with Budgie. With Ubuntu Budgie had stuff in it that Solus Budgie that wasn't Budgie, but it was associated with Budgie because it was on Ubuntu Budgie.
Yeah, that's Marty's thing. I think is the software boutique, and you're right, Rod.
Yeah.
Say that you use it the first time to dump a bunch of your programs in right away, and then you're done with it. And I can't count, because if you go back to it to look for something, the reality is I wind up going back to Synaptic or something like that, just to repo entry anyway. So
yeah. So it's a great thing to have. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
It's pretty
that it's in there, but if you're really only going to use it once.
But I think
it's just
if you're
one more feature.
coming-
It's not a main feature, but it's
No.
Yeah.
But I think if you're coming from, let's say you're coming from Windows, you're coming from Mac, it's nice to know that you can go, and I think this was the idea of it, was that, or you just have never used Ubuntu Mate at all, and you go to the boutique, and all the workhorse stuff that you would need is right there. You don't have to worry about, what's it called, and so where am I going to find it, and all that, because Synaptic can be a little bit intimidating to people when they first come across it.
Yeah, it's very user friendly for the novice if they're coming into it, and you go by category and you click the button and it just dumps everything up and you just say, yep, install.
And then it downloads everything at once. So, and which is really nice. So it does like a batch download once you went, click, 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 and which Synaptic, you can do the same thing, but you can't do that with the regular Ubuntu Software Center, which has always driven me crazy.
Right.
Oh, I guess I never noticed. You only get the one install button for that.
You have to do each individual program one at a time. Where with the boutique, you click them, it dumps them all into basically a pot of. It's kind of like even with Synaptic, how Synaptic does it too. Click
it's the same idea.
When it dumps all at once, it's the same principle, but this puts basically a GUI to it. Is what it is. It puts a
that's how we do our popular apps tab. You go click, 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 click.
Exactly.
And then install.
It out.
Well, it's interesting that when Ubuntu still had their Ubuntu One, you could actually, if you had multiple machines running the same version of Ubuntu, you could actually install everything on one machine and then go into the Software Center, say install all these things from there, and then walk away and it would install them. And,
oh wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that.
Well, the other thing that's nice too is if you're not sure if something's gotten a little janky or corrupted or whatever, you can go in there and say, hey, check and see if there's any broken packages. I mean, there's literally a repair center in there too. And or check if your updates and stuff like that, which also is nice for somebody who might not be comfortable in the terminal or that kind of thing. So.
Prophetic wants to start a revolt and have us use Puppy Linux. I had to throw that out there.
He never gives up, does he?
I almost put that in for him, but then he showed up in chat.
Yeah. I don't think Puppy's going to make it for a while. Prophetic.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Why?
Well,
I don't know why.
You don't even have to install Puppy. You can just run it off the live USB key.
Yeah,
Wait, we're still waiting for the updated Hannah Montana Linux. Come on.
Oh.
Not even in the same boat.
It has to. That thing has been so long in coming. You're going to have to call it the Miley Cyrus Linux instead of Hannah Montana.
I think so.
Oh wow, nice.
I was gonna say Michael's only like 15 months behind Ryan on the review.
Right.
Puppy, with Puppy, you don't even need a hard drive. You just dump it in the RAM.
So I've never tried Puppy.
Neither have I.
Okay, so
learn to love running his root.
What do you boot into in Puppy? Like, what is it that you boot into?
A 1980s desktop.
Yeah.
What environment?
By default, it's IWM.
Yeah.
Usually, I think there's some flavors that use different things, but by default, the Puppy mainline Puppy's IWM with the ROX desktop. It's very similar to Annex's desktop. Is a little. They got some tricks that we don't have, and we got some tricks they don't have. But
I thought it was JWM.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It's JWM. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Antics looks a hell of a lot better than Puppy. I mean, Puppy for me just looks like some kid drew it. It's awful. Sorry.
It's the icon set. We just
Prophetic,
they haven't changed their icon set since 1998, so that's the same as it
The
always
best thing is when it barks at you when it starts up.
Yeah.
The old ones, anyway. Remember?
Oh, really? That's kind of
That
cool.
would drive my dog.
The dog bark at you.
I need a porpoise squeal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you can find one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Puppy's going to make it. Sorry.
No.
I think we'll stick with Deepin.
Okay.
That's all right.
He just said he's going to mute us all. He's like,
he's playing a little kid.
Does Deepin come in?
well, there you go, Puppy Linux. Zeb said it looks like he's drawn like a little kid. So why not?
Someone slap Deepin on Puppy real quick. Let's get that going.
Yeah, let's see how that runs.
Well, you have a choice, Paul, of most of the distros now have a Deepin version, or I should say most of the popular ones. You can do the Ubuntu version of it, or you can do Arch, you can do Manjaro. Help me out, guys. Who else has a Deepin version? Anintech has a Deepin version that I'm going to try. So.
Okay, so we could try any Deepin.
Yep. Anyone you want. And like I said, that'll just give us a better chat next week.
Cool.
Tuckstop is here. Stopped in to see us.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's happening?
How was everyone's Thanksgiving?
It was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How was yours?
How was everyone's Thanksgiving?
I'm still recovering.
Yeah, me as well.
Did you get to try anything this week, Tux?
No. I mean, I don't distro hop that much, so.
Well, I didn't mean you had to distro hop. I just meant try something.
And try it as a live
There's a difference,
USB,
you
because
know?
that's if I try something.
Or VM.
Well,
there you
if
go.
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. Yeah, good point. But that's too boring, like.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't try, but I did. I like Arch, so I use Arch with XFCE and i3 window management. So I saw something about Arch Deepin. I think it was Antec or something. So on and off, I log in. I've installed that on my separate hard drive, and every now and then I log in and check it out and play with it, but for 30 minutes or so. But I go back to my XFCE i3. So and that works for me. I don't like using mouse too much, so it just works for me. So I mean, to be honest, once I installed Arch about a couple of years ago and kind of got used to it, and all my desires for trying anything new have slowly disintegrated. But maybe I'll jump back in again.
Yeah, you have to give it a try, at least in a virtual box. Just throw it in a virtual box and check it out.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about it next week. All right. Anybody have any escapades this week they want to talk about?
No.
I tried to buy a vacuum cleaner at Lowe's.
Not that good for you.
They had 3 on the shelf, but online people had bought them all, so I couldn't get one.
What?
So the lady was very nice. She said she would call all the stores in the area, which all of them are a good 40-minute drive from any other store, because that's how they grid it out. And I said, no, I'm just going to get on my phone here and order it online like those 3 people did. And hell, it's $50 cheaper online than it was from the inside the store. So I'm okay. It'll be here tomorrow or Monday. I know it's not much of an escapade, but that's what I did yesterday.
That's pretty wild.
Wow, man! I can tell this is a sleepy crowd, but hopping for a vacuum cleaner is wild.
On Black Friday.
I know what we should have did.
It was late in the day on Black Friday,
yeah.
which is probably why I couldn't get the vacuum cleaner.
By the way, did anybody get any good tech deals on Black Friday?
I did.
Yeah, I got a
What'd you
4K
get?
monitor.
I bought my father a new iPad, which is still sitting here. It's going to Florida because his other one finally crapped out.
One of the new ones?
No, I didn't. No, he'd kill me if I spent $1,500 on an iPad for him. He's 86 years old, so this is still the latest version prior to the latest version. So
that's okay.
And then I got for like $250. It was $80 off. But then I bought a 49-inch 8 series Samsung,
Nice.
Yeah, and then I actually bought a 27-inch monitor for the other room. It's a TN. It's not an ISP, but that's okay for what I'm doing over there. That's still going to be an improvement over what's in there now. So
I'll tell you what, Adam, you said you bought a 4K monitor?
I did, one identical to the one that I already had.
You're going to have dual identical 4K monitors.
Yeah, it's nice having identical monitors.
Yeah.
I happen to agree with you because I have issues with my monitors being not the same. And they're different colors. Like they have the HP that I have that's still running from like years ago has like awesome colors on it. And the LG that I have doesn't. So they're like off. So the white is not white, it's gray. And it's, yeah, and they're different resolutions. And like it's stuck on the way over. And there's a few issues with it. Yeah, I definitely agree.
I tend not to purchase anything that doesn't say Dell on it because I know what I'm getting.
Right. Well, Dells are nice, and actually the ultra sharp Dells are really, really nice.
So it's funny you mentioned that about the Dell. It was a TN panel, so bear with me. But before I bought these 4K monitors, I bought a Dell G-Sync monitor. It was a 24-inch 1440p monitor. And the colors on that thing, I know TN's not the greatest for colors, but this was like severe color banding on this monitor. Like it looks like, if you remember what it was like to look at like 256 color images back in the day, that's what it looked like horrible color banding everywhere. Dark scenes were just terrible. YouTube videos looked terrible. Games looked fine as long as they were bright and colorful and flashy. But as soon as you like looked at any image, looked at any video, it was garbage. And I know Dell Ultra Sharps are perfectly fine, but not all Dell monitors are created equal.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's actually what I wound up buying was a Dell 27. I'm trying to remember. I'll look it up and see exactly which one I got. But I was looking at some of their G6. I must have watched I don't know how many different videos and did research on a bunch. I was looking at some LGs and things like that too. But the one I have in front of me right now, I paid. It was $900 monitor. It was like $899. I got it for just under $7 when I bought this, and it was down to $614. But I didn't want to buy another one quite this high end for what I was doing in the other room. And the TN that I looked at, like I said, I'll look up the model and I can drop it in the chat. But it's funny you mentioned about the colors because yeah, they say if you're doing photo editing or that kind of stuff, which I'm really. What I do is limited for some of the online web stuff. It's not anything that's that particular. It had some excellent ratings and stuff too. And basically, it was a almost $600 monitor that I got for, I think had $20 sitting in a gift card plus it was $349. I paid $320 something for the thing, $329 or something like that for it. So I mean, that's kind of like a no-brainer. But you're right. Yeah, the G-Sync too. I know there was differences in some of them too. With I'm trying to remember what it was. There was a specific thing that was common with the Dells. Now you talk. Okay, was it a difference between 1440 or was it 1080? Because that's a huge difference. Because if you did a 1080, that's what the difference was. The 1080 would look more pixelated and it wouldn't look as crisp, and you'd have color loss. From viewing angles and stuff versus a 1440.
No, mine was 1440, and it was just color banding. It was, if you look that up like on Google Images or something, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just like you think of a gradient as like a smooth transition from one color to another. Right. In this case, the transition is not smooth. It's very blocky, very direct. Like you can see clear differences in the colors amongst through the gradient. And I tried setting like dithering settings and everything I could. I tried adjusting gamma. I couldn't do anything to make that monitor better.
You are right when you say that they're not all created equal, because in all the different reviews and the different things I looked at, there was it's like anything else. It's like Linux. There's always something, but
yeah,
there are some very huge differences too, and so that's why it's some of it comes down to how they market it. They make it sound really wonderful, and then you find out, So let me look up here.
Yeah, when it comes to monitors, there are so many different options. Like you said, it can be tough to find the right one.
And then when you look at a whole bunch of them, different brands, and they're all up,
Yeah.
on the same shelves, and you're looking at them, the color balance on them is every single one is different, and
Yep.
and not even the same manufacturer. Two different models. One can have a truer color balance, and the other one can shift to the blue, or shift to the green, or shift to the red. And that, as a photographer, that drives me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, about a year ago, I got a Dell 24-inch. I think it was a ultra sharp, and I specifically wanted a IPS with Adobe RGB, over 99% coverage, and a monitor that I can calibrate. And it was under $200, believe it or not. So
wow.
a year ago. And I'm very pleased with it. I mean, it's almost as good as my NEC monitor that I use for all my color correction and profiling and all that for my photography work. So, but that was a year ago. I mean, it's still working well. So I'm happy with that Dell monitor.
You're 100% right there, though, Barb, because I've got two monitors that are meant to be the same, and I'm not, a specific photographer, color specialist. But if I have the same picture on both screens split between the two, I can tell that one's maybe a few shades lighter, but I just can't be bothered with messing about with all the color balances. I just put up with that idiosyncrasy. But you would think that two monitors would come out with the same defaults,
Especially from the same manufacturer.
Right.
And yeah, so I have a Samsung 23-inch. It's a 1080, and I eventually want to replace it, but because it's the color, I can never get the color balance on it this perfect. But it's not broken, so I don't want to get rid of it yet.
Right.
It'll probably go forever, and I'll be stuck with it forever. But yeah, I guess the Samsung seems to be a little bit too warm, and when you do nature stuff, that really makes a difference.
Yeah, and there are some very inexpensive spectrophotometers, and there's Color Monkey, and there's another one that's, I forget the name. They both work out of the box with Linux, and a quick calibration that can generate a .icc file. You set up the initial color temperature, the gamma, and then load up this cal GUI. And let it run for 30-40 minutes. At the end of that session, it'll generate a ICC, and then you load that as a display monitor profile, and then you should be able to tell whether it's corrected itself or not, and it'll calibrate itself to an internal standard, and then you can use that to kind of do your color corrections for photos, and then you send it off to Walmart. You don't get orange faces anymore, or Target, or Costco.
After all that, why would you have Walmart print them?
Yeah,
that would be my comment.
Yeah. I mean, even sometimes when you calibrate it,
Needs to calibrate his internet.
Especially places like Walmart or Costco, they don't have fully. So,
Tux, you're cutting in and out, brother. Go ahead, Board.
One of the things that I really liked about the Mac when I went from Windows to the Mac was that the color balance, I didn't have to go monkey around with it. It just seemed it was the same thing as my printer came out right, everything came out right, and I didn't have to do a whole lot of color correcting. And that makes a big difference. Pat, you are going.
Someone put out an APB for that cat for tomorrow. They're going to.
I know the coyotes would find them very tasty.
Coyotes, jeez.
Well,
he's an indoor cat, so don't worry about it.
Somebody said about the monitors being there's so many and so many choices and everything. I spent probably, I don't know, an hour or two earlier today looking at all of the choices, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, you have to do so much research to find out what all of this new technology does before you even know what you need. You know what I mean? I was talking to Adam through Telegram and asking, "Hey, what's this? What does this do?" You know, because I'm like, you don't want. I mean, that's something that if you buy a monitor, you don't want to just, you know, buy the first one you see. You want to get the right one for you, and yeah, you got to check everything out. It was like a big rabbit hole.
Well, I think I lucked out on mine because I saw them on sale. They were 250 quid. So I thought, yeah, done. I've got to have two of those. I've spent £500 on the monitor before and had the hump with it. So no, I'm okay with these Aces. They worked out quite well. But
Yeah.
I did exactly what you said you shouldn't do. eBay a sale, done, bought. Didn't even 27-inch 4K next.
Eventually, you got to do that, though. I mean, you just got to say, "Hey, I'm going with that," and that's it.
Well, it's not actually easy to find everything that you want in one monitor that's not like gonna kill the wallet. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking for an IPS monitor, but I want a decent response time,
right?
You know, for the gaming, and you know, I want the colors to be there. I don't want a, you know, like I said, I got great colors on this HP, but on the LG I really don't. So it's like I don't want to replace the LG with another one that's going to be the same bad colors. So it's like, you know, there's so many, and then I want it to be a VESA. Is that how you say it?
VESA mount, yeah.
VESA mount,
Yeah.
so that I can go on my the arms that I have. So it's like you can't, like there was an Acer one that was like awesome. It had everything except it didn't have a VESA mount.
That's the other thing, Rocco. In my research, there were some that, even though it's like you said, they had the colors, they had response times, they had all the things that they wanted. They bought the thing only to find out that the particular mounts that they have wouldn't. It said VESA mount, but it didn't work with the configuration of the mount that they needed.
Right.
For theirs. So that's another issue. And that's picking a monitor, like that's a gaming monitor. I put the link in there. You know, I'm not going to game with it. I actually just, like I said, use it for just, you know, my eBay store and some other things. But the reality of it is you need to pick a monitor for exactly what, you know, the uses of what you're going to want to use it for. You know, if you want to use it for photo editing and that kind of thing, you're going to need something that's going to have different configurations than something that's for gaming. Now, are there monitors out there that could do both? Absolutely. But then, like you said, you better open up the wallet and be ready to be, you know, hurt a little bit, you know, or have it sting because they're getting up there, you know.
I was going to say, because my understanding is, Barb, you'd probably know better about this. What is it? HP's Dream Color monitors, where they're supposed to be like 100% Adobe and art, but they're like $2,000.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. You do end up having to make concessions. There's no way I can afford $2,000 on a monitor. And I mean, if photography was my business, yeah, but otherwise, and I've been doing photography since my teens, so it's not like I'm new to it. But I wish that, you know, the other thing is that I would have a hard time buying something mail order if I haven't seen it. I want to see that monitor. I want to see how it looks, the colors and everything before I plunk my money down.
Well, there's an inherent problem with going to buy monitors that are strictly monitors and are not TV/monitors, and that is all of the displays in the store, all those monitors are driven by somebody's video card, which affects how the monitor displays.
True. Yeah.
Right.
So there's no way of knowing how that monitor truly performs unless you take it home and connect it to your card. But I can suggest the way a little trick that I use, because I do have to take a lot of artwork to printers, and I have to have the prints come out in the correct color schemes. Just carry a CMYK card with you. And whatever's being displayed on the monitor, hold your CMYK card up there, and if you're getting the correct color responses from your display that you're going to need on printed material, that's the best you can do. Find out what video card that they're using to drive that display, and if it matches what you've got, you're in business. If not, it's still going to be a trial and error. I've never been afraid to bring a monitor home, try it out on my machine. If it doesn't look like what I need to, take it back to the store. Get the one that works for you. A lot of them are just too expensive to mess around.
Yep.
You know,
it's definitely an expensive purchase, regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have a high enough DPI, you're going to have issues with the larger screen monitors, though. Too. That's another thing that needs to be considered. This 34, the trade-off is the fonts could look really small and things like that. Although you can tweak that in the distro easy enough. There's some distros that they're not as good at doing that, but that's another thing to be considered. And that's why I actually was going to go to a bigger one than a 27 in the other room. But then watching, and one way of looking too, Barb, is, YouTube, there isn't too much you can't find on YouTube. You put a model number in there, and you can tell if somebody's doing a good quality review versus somebody that's just, a novice that's opening a box and saying, hey, it looks pretty and it's got this, it's got that. Well, anybody can read what's on a box. But there's a handful of reviews I looked at that some of them were content providers where they did what Scott was saying, where he held an actual CMYK card up to look at it, and he was talking about the differences between one generation of this particular Dell and another one, or the LGs, that kind of thing. And one of the things that tripped my trigger that made me go with it, because I have a 25.5 in there now, and I'm frustrated because I feel like I can't get enough if I got to have multiple things going on in the window. And when I saw 1440 and I don't know why it didn't click, and all of a sudden the light bulb went off, and he said, well, you got to consider everything looks smaller when you get the 1440, and I thought, wow, that means you could fit more in there, which is exactly what he said. And then I thought, well, then that could work for me, because in that case, that's where having something look smaller because it's a bigger monitor would be an advantage. If you're trying to put more in there, keep your wallet a little bit more comfortable and still be able to achieve what you need for your work,
Well, that brings me to a question, Joe. What is like the perfect size for a monitor? I mean, I have a 32-inch LG, which I thought, bigger is better, basically. And it's really nice. I'm not complaining with it. But I'm looking at it, and as I'm looking at the monitors, buying them, I don't know if I would need a 32-inch. Depending on the price. Like if I saw a great deal on a 32-inch, that'd be great. But do I need a 32-inch? I think a 27-inch would be, like if I had two 27-inch monitors, that'd be fine.
Well, I'll give you an example then. To answer your question, I got the perfect answer to that, because I was thinking of taking this monitor, believe it or not, it's bigger than I wanted, stick it in the other room, and I've mentioned this in past shows about maybe going to a 43. But then one of the things they said about 43 is I do my gaming on this, and this works beautiful for it. But the bigger monitors have issues with screen tearing. Plus, I didn't know if I wanted to, as much as I like the idea of having 4 21.5-inch fields and running multiple machines, which is one of the things I wanted for this monitor. I could run 2 machines or even 3 machines on this particular monitor, which is nice because then you can split the screens. The one thing is it just doesn't seem quite wide enough. But when I had, after coming from 3 monitors, I like the desk space I got back, but there are times when I miss one more monitor off to the side, which would give me a dual monitor. Would be nice to be able to have the stream open over here, or have that extra window open if I want to work and split my windows, because I've got one thing going here, I've got another thing going there for my store or whatever, and I want to watch or listen to a video. I either have to set up a laptop or the iPad to do that, because to try to minimize it down in the window every time you click on it, you're missing it anyway. So, and the other reason why I wanted to get rid of multiple monitors was the heat they generate. The newer ones aren't as bad, but you got multiple power sources, so it's that much more power being taken up. Plus then the heat, and this is a 9.5 by 10 room that I'm in, and I walk out and it's like an oven in here when I come back if I have everything running in here. So, there's a lot of things that have to be taken into consideration. But where you're concerned for what you want to do, I think once you get used to it, it's awful hard, even though this 34 seemed really big to me. And I love it, the way the curve, it does something to your field of view that just is so much more comfortable. But it's been painful to not have that extra monitor there once you get used to it. It really is, even as big as this thing is.
Well, so, Joe, if you're thinking of going 43, my one statement would be don't. I got rid of mine, and I wanted to I wanted to use it like this because it was just too big. And I had 4 inputs. I could have my, my PlayStation, my Xbox, my PC, and my laptop all connected up to 4. But then you've only got like 4 19-inch monitors. So,
it's 21. Yeah, it's like the 22-inch monitors. But the point is, Zeb, do you have a corner desk too, don't you?
I've got a corner desk, yeah.
Yeah, because theoretically you should be able to push it back. But yeah, I still wondered if it was enough too. And I was worried about it being too big. But yeah.
It was too big. And all those OSs that had the global menu where you keep having to go up to the top left-hand side.
The travel.
It was just a nightmare. So for me, 27 inches is a sweet spot. It's really
Gnome on that monitor would be awesome.
Well, and honestly, to me, what would make more sense one thing that if you're going to get a second monitor, it should be the exact same specs as the one you're running. Because I had a 24-inch sitting here. It was a 1920 by 1080 that my son had, and I bought it off him. And he bought that for photo editing and things like that. The problem with that is every time you wanted to drag something over, it wanted to change the size of the window, and it always felt like it was getting stuck or like you were hitting something. So you need to get something that's going to flow and similar in size. That's why a 27 would fit well here, or go with another 34 if you want to have the full curve setup. But again, you got to have the space for it. So 27 is the sweet spot, I think, for most people.
We have 2 different setups in our office. All the regular engineer guys have 2. I don't even know what size they are. They're good size. They're good size CAD monitors. They're not 27-inch. They're probably whatever the next size down is.
24.
But they're good size and they're identical. And that's really nice for what Joe just said, flowing stuff back and forth between the screens. Now, the boss man who has to review everything, and he's been trying to switch to reviewing instead of reviewing paper drawings. He's trying to review paper. So he actually has a 3-monitor setup on his desk. And what he has is 2 of those monitors, one on each side of a big monitor. And I think the big one is 27 inches. And he's talking about jumping up to a 32 because he can't quite get a whole drawing on the screen with the 27. Yeah. But what his are, though, is all 3 of them are the same resolution. So actually that flow thing still works. Right. The windows stay the same. They might drop up and down in terms of scale on the glass, but they're the same number of dots. So they go out. So what happens is his bigger monitor in the middle actually has larger dots than the outer ones. But that works pretty well for him. Yeah. If you want to have fun with 2 monitors, wondering what window application is going to open up on, try it with 3. It's like it's like playing whack-a-mole with.
That would drive me insane.
But the thing is, a 32. Honestly, if I could have found the right 32, I did look at a couple of them. I would have probably gone to that even over to 27 because the windows would have been just a little bit bigger, dividing. But the other thing too is, along with not only the DPI or the 1440 resolutions, things like that, is looking at the bezels on here. The one that I have in there now, the 25.5, the outer dimensions of the monitor are the same as the 27 I just bought because the bezel was so thick on it. Where now they're like nothing. They're paper thin. So I guess it's going to come down to what and see the other thing when you're talking about cost. If I had bought the same spec monitor 27 instead of the one I bought, this Dell on sale would have been $440 something. It's normally much more than that. It wasn't. I shouldn't say much more. It's $478 or $490, whatever it was. So if you're getting 2 of those, and you're spending $900, or you turn around and you buy for $614. This was on sale for, which it's normally an $800 monitor. You got a 34 that'll do the same thing. If you could buy it cheaper on sale. So where's your money best spent too? Because if you can do a widescreen like a 34 and that'll work for you and get it cheap enough where it'd be cheaper than having 27, you're going to wind up with 2 monitors anyway. There's a lot of factors you got to consider. What your long-term goal is for it, or that kind of thing too.
Well, the other thing is they got the curved screens. So that's another issue that you got to decide whether you want that or not. Is that going to mess some people up? I saw them.
No.
I don't know if that would mess me up or not.
I tell you what, when I got this, when you first set it on your desk, it seems a little bit, I don't want to use the word weird. It's different. But looking at the screen, how many times if you've had a larger screen, and I don't know what the biggest screen you've had, but even a 24 or 27, it always seems like you're kind of you're tweaking them side to side, because it always seems like the one corner is a little bit out of, I mean, it just doesn't always sit quite perfectly. Where this, especially, I'll give you a perfect example, American Truck Simulator. You literally feel like you're looking out the windshield of a vehicle because of the curve, the way it wraps, you feel like you see everything and very comfortably. Because when you look over here, that in this curve, this particular one, this is a U3417W. The 3415, the previous version of this, was slightly less curved. And so this really does feel nice. I am very, very pleased with this monitor, and the price wasn't that bad for what I felt I've gotten out of this and what this can do.
So I had a 34 curved ultra wide for a while, and I didn't actually notice the curve at all. Like it didn't make any bit of difference to my experience at all.
To me, I think you notice the comfort more than the idea of it being curved.
That's the big thing about the curved monitors, is that you're not supposed to notice anything. The whole idea behind the architecture and designing this was to ease eye strain. So one of the big things that the curvature addresses is the fact that it immediately eliminates glare. Anytime you have a flat panel that has a gloss screen, you've got background glare from fluorescent lights, sun, and whatnot, and you're constantly battling that. Even if not consciously registering that, you're battling it constantly. If you have a matte screen, that helps quite a bit. If you have a curved matte screen, that curve addressed the second issue, which was your field of view. So they were to attack the generation of widescreens that were coming out and becoming more and more popular. So ease on the eyes, reducing the glare, and it fits your natural field of view for a widescreen monitor. So they were much wider than they were tall, and you didn't have to have neck movement. Your eyes could easily go from one side to the other, and there's no adjustment for your eyes to make as far as distance or focus, because it's a natural curve that's supposed to match your field of vision.
Right,
Maybe I was sitting too close.
I'm sorry.
So maybe I was sitting too close or something, because it didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I got anything out of it, to be honest.
Yeah, and mine is, they say typically most monitors would be your arm's distance. Mine is actually an arm's distance plus a hand length. I like it further away, and it does feel better with that, and I agree with that. The one, is there a trade-off to this? Sure. There's some, let's say you're watching a Netflix show and it's in a smaller, 16 by 9, or even its largest screen setting, you're going to get black on either side. But yet, most things when I watch, I can put it full screen, and it's absolutely beautiful.
That was pretty sweet, having cinema aspect ratio movies like full screen was pretty awesome. So most of the the indie games and stuff that I would play and other YouTube videos, they're 16 by 9, and so I just live in black bar land.
Yeah. So I will say this: if you're going to do a widescreen, an ultra widescreen, definitely do 1440. Do not.
Yeah, mine was,
because you will get more pixelization in the 1080s. And that's then you're going to regret it. So you're going curved monitors. They're coming down in price, even from the time I bought this. They've come down quite a bit, and they're worth the money. They're a little bit more pricey than a regular monitor, but I don't regret getting this. And honestly, I would buy another one in a heartbeat if I had a good use for it.
And these 4K ones have actually been the easiest on my eyes that I've possibly ever owned.
And the nice thing about this Dell too is you can get something that's pre-configured for you, or tuned, for the color balances and all that right out of the box, which this one is. You're golden.
Dan, what kind of setup you got for this monitor?
So I've actually got my laptop, which is a Dell, that's 17-inch widescreen, so that's pretty big screen. That's 1080p, and then I've got an Acer 24-inch just to the right of that, also 1080p. So I agree with what Dolphin was saying. When you drag something from one to the other, it doesn't try to resize it or scale it or whatever. It just gets bigger. Obviously, the the pixels are a little further apart, but it doesn't look weird. So for me, it works pretty good.
Yeah, that was the main reason for me getting the second 4K monitor, was because I was running a 1080p second monitor, and the scaling and everything was just an absolute mess. So having that kind of flow, between one monitor to another without rescaling the window or having, gigantic window controls and things on one screen, and it's really nice.
Well, the other advantage to buying identical ones, though, too, aside from scaling, which I found frustrating with the other monitor, is here I've got something that colors, everything are so royally crisp. And then I moved to this, 1920 by 1080 over here, and I can never get the color, no matter how much I try to tweak it, close to what my main monitor looks like. And then, because every time you move it over, then it looks different. So, you want to get something that's going to color match as well, too, because that's another thing that can be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
That was also one of the lucky things with me, because my 35-inch widescreen on the right is only a 1440, but with XR&R, I can scale it 1.5 and 1.5, and it suddenly becomes a 21, a 4K monitor. So I now have that natural flow, and it doesn't seem to be straining the monitor. It looks like it's the native resolution, but it isn't. It was shipped with 1440. So the XR&R minus scale is an amazing little tool that works wonderfully.
I've been wanting to ask you about that, because I've heard you say that before. Does anyone else have any experience with that? Because, you can type it in right now.
It was pretty blurry for me when I tried that.
There's you got to look at the specs of the monitor, because some of them are overclockable and some of them aren't, and depending on whether it's a 75 or 144 or 155 hertz, which also makes a difference on what you're rendering.
Well, let me show you, Dolphin. Yeah, that is my 35-inch widescreen on the 4K settings, and then that next to it is where my ordinary stuff is, and it's as crisp and clear as anything. I was gobsmacked when it happened. I expected it to be a bit blurry or a bit flaky, but it's rock solid, and I can move one to the other, and there's absolutely no difference in the resolution. And as I say, I must just be lucky with this AOC monitor.
Well, I've been experimenting with it, because I don't have anything that does the high DPI, but I'll be honest, I was looking at it more along the lines for Antics than for MX, because the older window managers are never going to get any kind of high DPI scaling. You can ramp up the text, and actually for a lot of the older window managers, that's all they have anyway. So we have a text scaling setting that we use in Antics, and that works decent for things like Fluxbox and for ISWM where they're all text. But then the icons get to be like, itty bitty little things on the big monitors. But the scaling thing, I tried it on my I don't have a high DPI monitor. It's a regular old whatever this is, ThinkPad T530. And if I scale it to say, I can scale it up, and it doesn't seem to bother anything, except the mouse only travels in whatever resolution that the thing. So the screen's bigger, but the mouse doesn't travel any further. So if I flip it the other way, if I go to like 0.5 by 0.5, then did I say that right? I think I said that right. Then the screen gets bigger. It looked fine, but I'm wondering what's doing the translation. Is that, is that? How's that affecting things like graphics acceleration? Do you leave that setting on while you're playing your video games? What's...
I can play video games on that machine, or I can play video games on my 4K, and they both run exactly the same.
That's interesting.
I must just be lucky with this AOC spec.
So the monitor itself must do some scaling in there too to try to match, what you're sending it. So, some of them probably have built-in scalers that are better than others. So, yeah, that's cool.
So when I tried the X render, whatever you want to call it, XR&R, when I did the scaling, it actually changed the resolution of that was outputting to like some bizarre resolution that no one would ever remember the numbers to. And instead of actually like scaling the UI, because I noticed, now that I have the same monitor, I scaled KDE's settings in the actual settings as opposed to using XR&R, and it's way crisper and it's running actually at the 3840 2160 as opposed to like 2990 whatever it was.
Yeah. And what do you run it at? 1.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I changed mine to, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. It was something I've been playing with, and I was just kind of curious how that actually worked in practice. Because here, if I go bigger, it gets blurry. If I go, well, let me say it back up. If I go 0.5 by 0.5, yeah, it's bigger on the screen. Everything's larger. It seems fine, but I didn't know what I was actually doing in the background.
No idea.
I only got one computer, so if I break this thing, MX isn't going to come out for a while.
Yeah, no idea how it works. It just does, and I'm really pleased it does, because it just makes everything transition so much easier.
Yep. Well, like I said, it's hard to find one that's got everything you need. I guess you got pretty lucky there.
Twice now.
Well, the other thing too is it's hard to find one that's got everything you need and at the right price. Because you can get anything you want, at the right price, but
right.
Well, I just looked up my monitors now on eBuyer again, and they're 380 quid.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I picked them up for 250 each in a sale. Brilliant.
Well, there was I think it was a Samsung certain monitor that was on sale Black Friday or one of them, and that was a great price. But the regular price, there's no way, I would pay that. So it's going to be a rabbit hole for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The best advice I can give you, though, Rocco, long and short of it is, if there's one that's going to cost you more in the long run because it's what you really want and it has everything that fits as close as it's going to get for you, then that's the one you should try to work toward getting. I mean, if it takes you a little longer to get it, because that's when you're going to be most happy. Because otherwise what will happen is, you'll save a little bit of money, but then you're always going to regret it, or you're going to be kicking yourself saying, I wish I had this, or, and it does. Eventually it gets frustrating. So, and that's what I finally did when I coughed up for this. I never thought I'd spend this kind of money, but then I think about that 25.5 in there years ago. That was a nearly $700 monitor back then. So, and
this
that
HP that I have, I bought it. It must be at least 10 years old. And it was a $900 monitor when I bought it. I bought it at Best Buy. It was an open box sale, and it just happened to be open. And they cut it in half. It was like $399.
Right.
So I was like, it was an awesome monitor, so I couldn't pass it up at the time because it was that good of a monitor. Well, it's still running, and it's still, but like I said, the colors are different from the LG, and it's.
Well, in that monitor, that 25.5, I paid a premium for that because I needed something that rotated because of the plan designs I was doing. Because every once in a while I'd draw a house that was deeper than it was wider or whatever, or you needed the ability to do that. Most monitors now, when I just bought it's on its way for $330. They all rotate. Most of them do, in the Dell line anyway, or LG or whatever. In what's considered their high, that's still considered, even though it's a TN, it's still considered one of their higher end models.
Right.
That's one thing I did do is all the monitors I've bought in the last decade or so have been rotatable. Same reason. Every now and then you just need the long axis to be vertical.
Well, in your case, especially because you're coding, that works fantastic. Instead of having it be looking all the way over here, it's nice to be able to rotate that thing and have it closer, and then you're not turning your head as far and traveling.
Yeah.
So it still works.
Oh yeah, down at the code shop my son worked at over the summer, that all their monitors were vertical. Nobody had a horizontal monitor. They were all flipped vertical so that they could have the longer code sections visible. I'm more like you. I deal with drawings all day long. So,
Well, I asked you, Joe, what does everybody else think about the perfect size for monitors? Is it 27? Is that the sweet spot, or is it what you can afford?
I think it has to do with the resolution of the monitor, what the pixel density is. I think 24 is fine for 1080, 27, 1440. You could probably get away with 32 for 4K.
And you really have to base it on your particular setup, because I mean, you could look for a particular size of monitor, but what is the least amount of eye strain on you based on how far away your monitors are from you? It's all based on your work setup.
Yeah, mine's an arm length away. It's 1080p, but it's only 24. So, but that's good for me. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the one thing I am afraid of with 4K monitors is that things would get too small for my liking.
You'd have to get pretty good size. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but then you also got to have the room for that.
Yep.
My internet connection is not good enough for 4K, so I'm not worrying about it. It's going to be 1080 from here on out. Plus, I can play any video game in the universe at 1080. You got to scaling that stuff up to big old pixels. You got to have the big old iron to drive that thing, and this isn't going to happen on my budget. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you are right, Rocco. If you have 27-inch and it's 4K, then the text is way too small to read. You have to do some sort of scaling.
Okay. Yep. So if you're going to go 4K, you would have to do at least a 32-inch.
I would think so.
I mean, you can get away with 27, but you just have to deal with the scaling. And
I think it'd be best to go and have a look.
See 4K pixel density at 27-inch. I mean,
that's the
can
point.
human eyeball see that?
You don't even have exactly. You don't even have to worry about seeing pixels.
I don't think you can either. I don't think the human eyeball can see it that close. I mean, you might as well go big if you're going 4K. That's what all them pixels is for.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I think your best bet is to sit down your local Best Buy and look at the monitors.
I mean, what's the Retina display on the iPhone?
I should do that, Zeb.
The reason they call that the Retina display is because it's better than the human eyeball can see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
gonna you get a larger monitor. You're gonna have to adjust your text. Even if you didn't adjust it full scaling, if you just even the text by itself, you're gonna have to adjust that because everything's gonna be so down, and it's gonna be crisp as can be, but it's gonna be small. And when you're getting up to our age and you need these for help, even with these, it's not enough. So.
Hey, I got contacts, so yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Even if you don't buy one at the Best Buy, you just went down and looked at them, you'd kind of get an idea of what size you'd probably want to shoot for.
Stop at Office Depot first and grab the office chair and drag it over to Best Buy and set it right down in front of the monitors. Now, this is serious because when you're standing in front of that thing at Best Buy, you're 2 feet away from it. You're not 4 feet away from it. So you got to, get a yardstick, whatever you got to do. Take it down to don't do what Chicken does and hack all the computers at Best Buy. Just go down there and slap the yardstick in front of it.
Forget the elementary on the USB stick.
I think he did. Didn't he do that? I think he did.
He did.
He should have done MX, but that's okay.
If money is not a limitation,
money's always a limitation, dude.
So OLED screens are pretty neat. They have a very good black to white ratio, and I don't play games, so I never looked into it. But I believe one of the benefits is a very fast refresh rate. So it's supposed to help with gaming. But I'm not a gamer, so I don't know if it's.
But you're talking about TV talks versus a monitor.
But that would also benefit, going down to Best Buy and looking at things because. You have all these things thrown at you like IPS and the refresh rate and the colors and the 1 billion color scale, whatever. And
those are worthless.
You could, okay, so that's what I'm saying. You could go down and actually look at them and see if that's going to benefit you or not. Do I need that, or is it going to be extra money just wasted?
You can't actually look at it because in the show floor or showroom floor of the Best Buy or whatever, they have it on vivid mode, which means it's worthless because no one uses the TVs at vivid mode. They put it on movie mode or game mode or whatever. So they always make it super pop. So the dynamic contrast ratio of 1 million to 1 means nothing.
And
there's other ratios that matter, but not that one.
What matters, Michael?
Static ratios, not dynamic. The static constant ratio, but also there's a lot of things like as far as TVs goes. TVs are not really good for like hardcore gamers, and the refresh rates for TVs are nowhere near comparable to monitors, especially with like the 144 hertz monitors. Those are ridiculously faster and much better. So if you were a gamer, you should get that.
Tux, what were you going to say?
With respect to OLEDs, I mean, I've been in OLED industry for a long time. I'm not doing OLED science anymore. But one of the limiting factors is the lifetime of the molecules that are used in making the OLED screens. So they are organic material. By nature, they're very susceptible to oxygen and moisture. So the total lifetime is nowhere near close to what the liquid crystals are. So that's still jury's out whether OLED screens can last as long as LCD screens can last.
Yep. Well, Michael, you arrived just in time for the last word. Right on time.
Perfect.
All right, Adam. Last word, sir.
Actually, kind of looking forward to checking out Deepin. Hopefully, the repos are a little faster this time.
What do you plan on trying? Which one?
Probably the base Chinese Deepin. You know, I ain't scared of no government.
I ain't scared.
So yeah, I'll probably try that.
All right, dig it. Dev, last word.
Yep. Check out the latest episode of Destination Linux when it comes out on Wednesday stroke Thursday midnight, whichever time it is, 11:59 or 12:01.
It's going to be on time.
You heard it here first. Don't believe it till it happens. Whatever flavor of Linux you're using, just enjoy it. But for me, it's peppermint first and life a close second.
Nice. Dan, last word.
All right. Thanks for having us all on again. It's always fun. And yeah, gonna look forward to Deepin here. I think I'm going to try Manjaro Deepin just to be different. And sounds like fun.
Very good. Paul, last word.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I look forward to this Deepin thing because I don't know much about it at all. So I don't know. You said I can do Deepin Arch or Deepin Ubuntu, whatever I want.
Yep. As long as it's a Deepin desktop environment, you can pick.
I don't know all about
There's
that.
There's not a ton that use Deepin. There's probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah, there's a few.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So yeah, I'll probably look into it a little bit. And thanks for having me on. I got to give a shout out to my mom. It's her birthday tonight. 67 years old.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you. I'll pass on the wishes.
Pass on the word. All right, Joe. Last word.
Well, like everybody else, thank you for another great show this week and having me on. It's been fun. Do your homework on the monitors. You know, if we had a lot of discussion about that. There's a lot of decisions, a lot of choices out there, but again, there's a lot of factors to be considered. It's no different than your PC. It's like everything else.
Yep.
You know, take the time to decide on it and what you're going to do. As far as the Deepin goes, I know I was the one to push for that tonight. I've been pushing for it. I'm excited. It won't be the Chinese version. That I'll tell you that much. I don't know. I'll have to look and kind of decide which one I'm going to do. I haven't really decided yet, but I'm kind of anxious to try that. And we're expecting a pretty nasty snowstorm tonight. So hopefully you guys aren't going to wind up with what we're going to get here. It's supposed to be pretty bad. So anyway, see you guys next week.
Nice. Scott, last word.
Oh, well, always thanks for hosting. Always a great show. Wish I could have got to test Neptune a little bit better than what I got to peek at. I'll have to give that a 5 out of 10 anyway, as far as possible OS. Yeah, definitely with the monitors, if you're going to go purchase one, find one that's going to be the least eye strain. That's really what it's going to be based about anyway. So curved is nice, not necessary. The distance that your monitors are from your eyes, that's what's important. Like you tried, Rocco, big is, like you said, big is not always better, but big does have its advantages. So again, it's all about your work environment and what's the easiest on your eyes. We all age too quickly anyway.
Right.
in Deepin. I'm looking forward to. I've already got it installed actually in a VM, and I'm just testing some things out on it right now. Looking forward to next week's show to see how we all go with that. Thanks for having us.
Yep. Dolphin, last word.
Well, you've certainly given me a lot of thought to think about over the next 2 years until I'm ready to have my office back. I'm still regulated to the corner of our front room because I have no office and too many children. I don't know. Great show. Thanks for having me.
Cool. You can always kick them out.
Not quite yet.
Okay. All right.
I still like them.
It's not like Barbara's cat.
Yeah, that's right. Tux, last word.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great show. With respect to Arch Deepin, I already have it installed. I log in once in a while, like I said. So my report is it's beautiful.
All right. Michael, last word.
I am super excited because the timing was bad. I know I was 5 minutes. I wasn't the last to join, so that's good for me. But I'm going to releasing This Week in Linux tomorrow morning because I'm already done editing.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
and actually, I'm done editing and rendering. So
Wow.
I talk about streamlining all the time, and I finally did it. Oh
He has achieved streamlining nirvana.
Exactly. I'm so excited.
So that doesn't actually mean that they'll be on time. It just means that you streamlined it.
It's either that.
I streamlined Twinle. It'll be on time. Destination Linux is. I still have to work on the streamlining.
Up in the air.
Yeah. So it's making progress. Is it's okay. Whatever. But by the way, monitors also IPS versus TN. That's important too, depending on refresh rate and quality of color. And I agree with the whole get whatever looks best for you. But the problem is you can't really check unless the Best Buy or whatever lets you modify the settings. So first you need to ask for that.
Right. Oh, you don't have to ask, right? You just
just do it.
You check
Okay, you can do the chicken way. That's true.
Prophetic, my man, who was not in here to defend his puppy Linux. Last word, brother. Oh, you don't have no sound. Hold on. You don't have no sound.
Last word was perfect.
Are you on Puppy Linux? You don't have no sound, or what?
That's what I said to him. I said, "Must be puppy." Oops, did I say that?
Wow.
No Pulse Audio over there.
Poor guy.
All right, Carl, last word.
Everybody have a good week. And sorry I had to peel out in the middle there for a while, but I'll watch the replay.
It's all good. You gonna try Deepin or what?
I'm already trying it.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
Good job.
All right. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate the conversation, the tips, and everybody being here. Join us in the Telegram group for more tidbits about Deepin and how's everybody doing during the week trying it. It is t.me/Big Daddy Linux live. All right. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
See you next week.
Night, guys.
See you guys. Bye.